So have a look at this. This is common bramble. And you can see we've had rain and we've got good temperatures. And the place is full of it. The whole of this apron needs a cut back, but I managed to cut the front. Every single colony is good. There's some honey, not a great deal, but there's some. And the good thing is there's no blank spots, or very few. But what we're going to do with these two, they're going to be transformed into one cell builder. So why am I going to do this? Well, we're going to do it because I have got 2 apiaries left where I am going to make my last load of splits as I start to pull honey. I haven't got any more queens available to put in the colonies. In other words, mated queens, but I'm going to make a few. Now, I'd never normally do it this late, but because of climate change, because of things seem to be okay, and there's absolutely loads of drones in all these colonies, I'm going to combine 2 colonies, and I'm going to remove the 4 supers, and then brush the bees off into each colony. And then I'm going to remove the queen from each colony and make a little nuke, just take her away, and she'll overwinter in that fine. And then I'm going to put all the bees in one box. And I'm going to add, if I haven't got enough emerging brood, I'm going to add brood from other colonies, because I've got that. But I'm not interested in making an enormous cell builder. I just want to raise a few queens. Maybe 40, 50 queens that will give me a few to put in nukes down there that didn't accept the queen, or she died, or whatever, for whatever reason. Excuse me. And enough to put a cell into each nuke I make. Now I'm going to probably put them all in at day 3. I'm going to make these nukes up today and tomorrow for this apiary, and I've got one other big apiary with another 20 odd colonies in that I can use, and I'm going to do the same with that. So we'll have about 40 nukes extra, so maybe I might be up to about 100 and maybe 140, 150 nukes to overwinter. But the reason why I'm doing this is the same as everybody. If you get to the end of the season, the conditions are good, and you've got a load of bees sitting there doing nothing, use your resources. Make a bit of effort. It's going to cost me nothing to raise a few queens, and yet I might have another 20 or 30 colonies that go through the winter. So you can see I've had to use, this is the last of my standard boxes I use. I've got none left. I've had to use some of my old boxes, but you know what? They're great. The reason why they're great is because they will go into an apiary and overwinter in an apiary in the middle of nowhere and won't be affected by badgers and all that can sometimes wreck these boxes. So there's good and bad points. These are also 5 framed, which is fine this time of year. I'm not expecting them to grow to be enormous. All I'm expecting them to do is overwinter. And these boxes I got off my ex-colleague for free when I used to work with him, and he was going to dump them. And I've used these about 8 years ago when I was making nukes at a client's house, when I used to make my first nukes, and the bees overwinter in these really well because they've got open mesh floor, you can see, and we can always slide in a piece of card in there when we treat against varroa, which is great. So they're really good boxes. I've got another 20 of them at home, and it just means that I've got material that's sitting there not being used. I've got frames to use that's sitting there not being used. I might just as well make some money, get my act together and make the last load of nukes if I can. Another 40 this week, 40 virgin cells in, or cells for virgin queens. They'll go off and mate within 2 or 3 weeks, but I'm going to put them in as early as I can, and then they'll be out and mating. We're still within 3 weeks, which is when they'll start mating. 16 days, so about 21 days time. 3 weeks from now, they'll still be out mating in early September. Because the drones, I know from experience, there'll still be drones flying around. The forecast is good. It's not destined to go too cold. It's going to be fairly warm. So that will keep the possibility of them binning the drones away for another few weeks. I know historically, if we have drones here, they'll stay right till middle September. So we'll be absolutely fine. And even then, there's always a few kicking around. So I've got a lot of colonies here. I've got another apiary in Plonquet, another apiary at home with a few bees in there. So I've all got good genetics, and those drones will be flying around. Now, the other reason why I've done so well this year on mating is, even though I've been buying in queens, my colonies that requeen through swarming, and I might have caught the swarm in a box and I left the other ones to requeen. They've done well because I believe the conditions, first of all, were good for mating. It wasn't too hot. Secondly, because there was loads of drones around. Thirdly, because there was no Asian hornets around. But fourth reason was the fact that a lot of the other undesirable colonies around, the F3s, F6s, F10s, whatever you want to call them, the horrible, nasty dark bees, and I'm not slagging black bees off, but these aren't black bees, these are hybrids that don't do very well, they were all gone. There's nothing left around other than the odd one or two colony in a tree somewhere. Most stuff was killed off last year through varroa, through the heat, just like my stuff was. It's been like the great clearance of colonies. And I'm not sure whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, but it means for me this year, on a personal basis, for my business, it's been a really good thing in some respects because I've had really good mating, and all my F1s that have mated from my original queens have come back really well and producing lots of bees and fairly calm, blah, blah, blah. So I'm not saying every cloud has a silver lining, but every cloud might have a silver lining. So let's make up the cell builder and get on with it. So it's going to take me quite a while to get this sorted all out, but this is a box that I prepared before. I haven't done much actual grafting in a box this year. In other words, I haven't used my cell building box. I've only done grafting on individual bases, which has worked really well. But you'll see this box has the little trick where what I do is I take out the middle few carcellations. You guys in America have got none of them. You just got a bar you can slide your boxes on. But this is what I have saved from one of my apiaries. Look at that. A beautiful frame of pollen, both sides. Okay, a little bit of brood dead there, but they'll clean that out. But that's the resource you have to look for. And I'll probably find another one of those around here. But that will be going next to my grafts. And this box will be put into place straight away in a minute. But it is going to take quite a while. I've got some spare frames if I need them, but I'll probably have enough from there. But I'm going to do a split. I've got spare frames just to use with these boxes. So don't forget, 2 of these boxes are going to have 2 queens in from those 2 colonies. I am using quite a few resources now, but I haven't used any resources for queen rearing all year. So I'm happy to do that for the first time for a while. So because it's gone really well and because I know I can make really good queens, I want to use the best of what I've got and invest a little bit in some good queens for the 30 or 40 nukes that I make that will really be worth making. Remember, with cell building, it's kind of less is more. If you make really good quality cells, a few less that are all fed well and properly, that's your best bet rather than just trying to make loads under crappy conditions. Remember the expression, Mike Palmer's words, and I've said this in my talks, it's better to make a few good cells under ideal conditions rather than trying to make lots of cells under not so much ideal conditions. Even with poor genetics, good cells will be way, way superior if they're made properly than ones that you haven't fed properly. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to give them a bit of smoke anyway. Leave them a couple of minutes, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove these supers. I'm going to put them on other colonies adjacently. But I will try and shake most of the, or smoke most of the bees out first into the individual boxes, and then that will get rid of the supers. I don't want to get rid of them as such, but I know a colony with 2 and 3 supers on is going to have quite a few bees, which is what I want. I want lots of bees. So we're going to make a little nuke up with each colony, each queen from each colony, and then we will be able to take that queen away, put it anywhere in the apiary, and that'll be in its box for the rest of the year. That will overwinter, they'll grow up. I mean, we talked about this a lot, and we've come to the conclusion over here, my colleague says exactly the same. If you had the resources, if you could split all your colonies at the end of the season and put everything into nukes, everything, you would probably have way better bees next year, because you can control the nukes better, you can overwinter them easier, treat them easier, but it's just not really possible with the logistics we've got. But we try. There we go. Add that in. Any bees that want to come back will fly back to this colony. Let's have a look at this one. There's quite a lot of nice. Well, I'll shake these off and put this in here, and that will be a nuke for next year then. There'll be enough on that to get that going. So that one is done, the queen is made. Put this lid on. This can go to one side for now. And I might even take this home for a little while so we don't lose any more bees. We will see. That is done, the queen is out the way. Just put her over here for now. So I know. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take this hive away and put in its place another hive, shake all the bees out of here that are in the super, and then shake them into this, and we're going to do the same for the box next door. So it's going to get very messy for a while, as it is already. Move this. Oh, it would actually help if I let the queen go in that box over there. Let's go and do that now quickly. Right, the queen is now in the nuke I made. Happy days. So now we've got a colony that thinks the queen has swarmed. We've artificially swarmed that queen. So now they'll soon start to realise there's no queen and they'll become almost hopelessly queenless. But there is larvae in this colony still. So I'm going to have to get rid of them as much as I can. That's what I took out when I made the cell builder. So let's start moving things around a bit here. There's two hives, as I said, going to go into one. So that can go in there. This colony can give up its brood. Look at all that brood. That's what we want. There's a frame of honey and some, no, there's no eggs on that frame. That can go at the back for now. We might not need that frame. Okay, so that's a spare frame as well. Let's shake the bees off, and we'll leave that inside the colony because otherwise it's got honey and they might try and rob that out. This one has got nothing on it, this can come out for now. So it's empty and spare. So we'll take this off its stand, just move it out of the way. Most of the flying bees will come back and find this colony in its place. Well, it's not a colony, isn't it? It's a box with bees and no queen and a few larvae. So now we're going to just tap these out. And that colony is coming out the way now. That box, I mean. So this is just the start. So they're all going to come back to a box with nothing in it except a pollen frame. There it is. And it's going to be ready to graft. And they'll get a graft tomorrow. And hatching brood. So I'm going, as I said, I'm combining two colonies here to make the best effect. But I'm also going to shake the bees out of this super into the box because they only know this place. I could put this super on top of another colony, but the problem is, let's do this, look, let's put that on top now, and then hopefully a lot of them will shake down into the box itself. So while I've got time, I'm going to quickly grab a nuke ready for this one. So anyway, we are doing good. We're now going for the second colony, trying to find the queen. I'm taking my time here, and I'm taking out all the young larvae and putting that into this box so that I can just keep the brood that's in here, so that hatches out dead quick. I've got rid of the second box is now there. I couldn't find the queen yet. She may not be in that colony, but I think she is, but I just haven't found her. She might still be in the nuke and I haven't found her in it either, we see. But I'm going to go through it all again when we just get these last two supers off, and hopefully we'll be ready to get that as a cell builder. Just got to add the last supers to here. So we'll take this off again and add the supers to here. Best thing we can do now is keep an eye out, see if we can see the queen anywhere that I'm missing. She could have flown, but you can see now that is getting towards being a cell builder. It's going to be reasonably hopelessly queenless. Is that a queen there? Nope. I thought I spotted one then. They'll all make their way up. And if I can't find her, I'll have to look in here before I graft. But this colony is going to be very well fed and full of pollen, and that's what is all important. All those lovely bees. And there's hatching bees to come. So, success and not success in some respects. I'm trying to find the queen that may still be in here. She may have taken a flight. She might never have been in the box in the first place, in the second box that I've combined. But there's absolutely loads of bees in here, which is great, and all is good. So I was going to leave this anyway till tomorrow before I graft. So what I can do is I can let it settle overnight, come in tomorrow morning, have a quick look for her. If not, get a graft in there tomorrow. So it's certainly not a disaster, just a bit frustrating not to have a queen. So what you can do is you can do a few shakes like this. You have a queen excluder on the side, and you basically take a frame out, give it a shake out, and see if you can spot a queen if there is one. But the great thing about this is now all the bees are getting really disorientated and they've lost their stinginess, and they're not a problem. I'm pretty sure there's a queen lurking around here, but I might have to wait till tomorrow to find her now. Just let it settle overnight. This obviously she isn't marked, so this is beekeeping for you exactly. The whole idea of this is I've identified the fact that there might be a queen in here, and I will soon be able to rectify the problem if I find one. Or two queens, but most likely one this time of year. Well, as you can see, there's a bit of confusion here, but we've got exactly what I wanted. We've got a colony now in place of the other two. We've moved the honey off, and this will now become a cell builder. Plenty of nurse bees, all ready to do their thing when I put something in tomorrow. Hopefully the graft's in tomorrow, and if there's a queen, we'll find her. So we have some sunshine today. I've just shaken the whole colony through a queen excluder, my shaker box, and no sign of the queen or a queen or any queen. I'm going to have another look carefully through this box as I lift it off, but it seems these guys are queenless. Normally you'd see a queen, she usually dives straight to the bottom and you see her pretty quickly. Occasionally you find her on the wall, but it's just drones I'm seeing here. She would still be in laying condition, so she won't be flying. I doubt it very much. And there's no sign of her here, so I'm ready to do a graft. There's no queen in here. They're all pretty much fanning their wings. They all look pretty desperate. So under the feeder, I've taped up some of the holes so that the hole going into the feeder is actually not that big, but they'll get going on that. But it'd be more so as soon as I put the grafts in. I'll just slide the box open to one side and then slide the grafts in on that. But that cell builder is ready. You can see the bees are completely confused. They're actually a little bit angry, but they're not aggressive towards me, they're just lost. We'll get on with the grafts now. So I haven't used this much this year. I've got everything here I need to do the graft. Got a nice frame of larvae. There's a lot of too big, but a lot are the perfect size. I found this in my new, I do that. I don't know if you can see loads of white there. What's the best way of trying to show you this? an absolute sea of capped in the middle, and all the edges are, you can see right outside that, are all beautiful tiny glistening larvae. There's a lot of great larvae there, so I should have no problems here knocking these out pretty quick. So like everything else, once you get your eye in, you can knock them out pretty quick. You can be pestered by bees. And I know I could get a frame holder to hold this, but for the amount of times I use it, it's not worth the investment. Because normally I always graft at home. Nice larvae here. So that's our graft done, ready to go in. So fit this in the frame. "56 grafts, 14 times 4. Let's go and put them in. See, I've just taped that over. I know they're probably going to chew, but it reduces the flow down a bit. Okay, you can see the pollen frame there on the left, or no, it's the right actually, sorry. Here's the right hand side pollen frame. I should mark it with the words P, but that can be pushed right up next to this frame. And these bees will probably change their manner completely once I slide this in. And in it goes. Plenty of nurse bees. See how they do with that graft. Everything they need. Just leave them alone now. Let them get on with what they need to do. Slide the roof back and we're done. Feeder is on. If I can get some pollen sub-mixed up tonight, I will come back tomorrow and put some on top of those frames as well. So the bees get fed everything they possibly need. But there is pollen coming in, and there's loads of pollen next to that colony. So for a cell builder for August, that's pretty good for me. I'm pretty happy with that. So we are the day after grafting. Let's see what we've got in terms of acceptance, if anything. I hope you have. I just popped in before, the feeder is empty. See what we can find in here. It's never a sure sign, but all nice, lot of bees. That's what I like to see. Let's see what this has been doing for us. Loads of bees there. So here we go. See if I've still got a bit of magic. A little bit calmer now they've got cells, which usually means we're in business. Excellent. They are building lots of cells by the look of it. Not all, but not bad. 39 out of 56. So that's pretty good for me. So I'm going to distribute this into a couple of colonies. And I'm going to gap these up. There's a couple here they've started and then pulled off, but it's completely normal. For a take this time of year, it's pretty good. So I'm going to put these in another colony, in a super of another colony, and get another graft in these today. Because that means then that I can have more cells. But these have all been accepted, bar 2 on this bar, which makes it worthwhile. So let's use this bar with not many on. And I'm not shaking the larvae really, It doesn't ever affect them when I do it. So that one is a complete bar now. Good cells here. Bees are everywhere, but they're being nice. So that's a complete bar. So what I do is, as you know, I put it back on top of the colony, and it gives me time to get my finisher ready. But I'm pretty happy with that. We've made a hopelessly queenless colony. We've got to check in the box because there may be some cells they're trying to make in there. Because don't forget, there was some larvae in the cells. But at the moment, as far as I'm concerned, this is good. That's a complete bar there, look. Everyone is good. So I've nearly got enough cells already, but I'll do one more graft today, and that should be enough for the boxes I'm going to make. Because I don't want to leave making queens any later than I am already. I want these out mated in 20 days. It'll be pushing it a bit, but there'll be absolutely no problems at all. Okay, so that's 3 complete bars. After I've inspected them, there's a couple that weren't that brilliant. The larvae look a bit small on a couple of those. But as far as I'm concerned, complete success. I'm just going to put this board back over loosely, really loosely, so I don't squash any bees. And then what will happen is they'll just keep feeding those larvae and keep them warm till I'm ready. Just like that, that's all you need to do. So I'm just out checking my nukes. You can see the ones with the queen cage at the front, that means they're good. One there, there's no queen in that one, so that will have a cell very shortly. So this is one of the cells I put in yesterday as a 1-day-old cell, and you can see larvae in there. They built that out beautifully. That is what it's all about. That is what being creative, having ability to be dynamic, to jump on the fact that you need queens and you haven't got them, and you can raise your own, and you just stick some grafts in and you take them out the next day and you put them in a finisher. But this time the finisher is a queenless nuke that is just about to start laying worker. You give them a 1-day or 3-day-old cell, whichever you want, and they will make their own cell, and they treat it as their own because they know it. Look at them fanning, rubbing their wings, going, oh, we're queenless, help us. And they're building a cell there that will fix the problem. That is what it's all about. And I'm just going to lift them out to show you exactly how nice these bees have drawn these up. I've just put them in the top of a super that was fairly well populated, but look at that. They are now day 2. I've taken a couple off the end. I've got more in the colony over there I just showed you. That is what it's all about. Cells being built, every single one, packed full of royal jelly, and that will be finished beautifully. Do you see what I'm kind of getting at? If you build your sustainability correctly, you can sort out a lot of problems at the end of the season because you've got a few cells. And where I would have lost 25-30% of my nukes I spent all this time making up, at least I'll have them with a queen in, and they should overwinter. There's still plenty of time. We're only mid-August. You can never have too many cells at the end of the year, and they are so easy to make. So think about that.